Welcome back to U.S. Top Analyst. What you are about to hear is not a hypothetical wargame exercise conducted in some Pentagon basement. What happened in the skies above the Middle East in the past 72 hours represents a rupture in the foundational assumptions of modern aerial warfare. A rupture so complete, so humiliating, and so strategically consequential that the governments in Tel Aviv and Washington are currently doing everything in their power to suppress its full implications from reaching the public. Israel's F-35I, a deer, widely regarded as the crown jewel of Israel's aerial dominance strategy, the most advanced multi-role stealth fighter ever integrated into an operational air force, and the embodiment of decades of American technological investment, experienced a failure that cuts to the core of modern warfare doctrine. This was not a failure caused by enemy missiles or aerial interception. It was something far more subtle, far more disruptive, and far more dangerous. The aircraft did not explode in the sky. It did not fall under hostile fire. Instead, it lost something far more critical: its sense of reality. In operational terms, the aircraft became blind. Not in the literal sense of losing visual capability, but in the far more devastating sense of losing its navigational certainty. The sophisticated systems that define the F-35's advantage, its sensor fusion, its targeting precision, its coordination with other platforms, depend on a continuous stream of accurate positional data. When that stream is corrupted or removed, the aircraft's entire operational logic begins to unravel. And that is precisely what happened. Iran's electronic warfare systems, built quietly over years of isolation and refinement, reached across contested airspace and disrupted the global positioning system signals upon which Israel's air doctrine depends. This was not a temporary interference. It was a sustained, layered, and highly coordinated operation designed to degrade confidence in navigation and targeting simultaneously. The result was immediate and profound. Israeli pilots, flying one of the most advanced aircraft ever built, suddenly found themselves operating in an environment where their instruments could no longer be trusted with absolute certainty. Coordinates shifted unpredictably. Targeting solutions became unreliable. Weapons that depend on precision guidance no longer guaranteed precision outcomes. The battlefield, which had always been mapped with clarity and confidence, dissolved into ambiguity. Missions were aborted mid-flight. Strike packages that had been carefully planned disintegrated under the weight of uncertainty. Pilots who had trained to rely on integrated systems now had to question whether the data in front of them reflected reality or deception. The margin for error, once measured in meters, expanded into something far more dangerous. Israel's air superiority, long considered unquestionable, did not collapse under the pressure of conventional military force. It was disrupted by something far less visible, but equally decisive: control of the electromagnetic spectrum. Tonight, we will break down exactly how this operation unfolded, what technological pathways made it possible, why this vulnerability has existed for years without being fully addressed, and what this moment signals for the future of warfare. We will examine how a sanctioned nation managed to challenge the most advanced air power architecture in the world without launching a single missile. We will also confront the broader implications. What happens when the foundational assumption of precision warfare, reliable positioning, can no longer be guaranteed? The reality being quietly managed behind closed doors is stark. The era of unquestioned GPS-dependent dominance is over, and the implications are only beginning to unfold. Before we go further, if this level of analysis offers a perspective you're not seeing elsewhere, consider supporting the channel. Your engagement helps maintain independent analysis in an environment where critical questions are often avoided. To fully understand what has occurred, we must first examine the F-35 itself, not as a symbol, but as a system. For over 2 decades, Western defense narratives have presented the F-35 as the ultimate expression of modern air power. Its stealth capabilities reduce detectability. Its sensors gather vast amounts of battlefield data. Its onboard computers integrate that data into a single, coherent picture. The pilot is no longer just flying an aircraft. They are managing an information network. All of this is true, but beneath this technological sophistication lies a dependency that is both fundamental and fragile. Reliance on accurate positioning data. GPS is not just a supporting feature of the F-35. It is deeply embedded in nearly every aspect of its operation. Navigation, targeting, formation coordination, weapons guidance. Each of these functions depends on precise geolocation. Remove that precision, and the aircraft's advantages begin to degrade. Iran appears to have spent years preparing for exactly this scenario. The electronic warfare framework deployed was not improvised. It reflects a deliberate strategy combining external technical influences and internal development. Over time, Iran integrated knowledge from multiple sources: foreign expertise, captured technology, and its own operational testing, to build a system capable of challenging advanced platforms. The operation itself unfolded in phases. The initial phase relied on GPS spoofing, a technique far more insidious than simple jamming. Unlike jamming, which blocks signals and alerts operators to a problem, spoofing replaces legitimate signals with false ones. The system continues to function, but the data it receives is incorrect. This creates a dangerous illusion. Aircraft systems continue to operate normally. Pilots receive no immediate warning, but every calculation, every coordinate, every trajectory is based on manipulated information. Iran deployed a network of transmitters across multiple locations, creating overlapping zones where GPS data could be altered. This ensured that aircraft entering these zones would encounter a consistent and convincing false signal environment. The first signs of trouble did not come from the pilots. They came from mission analysis. Weapons that should have struck precise targets deviated unexpectedly. Guidance systems followed their instructions perfectly, but those instructions were based on corrupted data. The result was precision applied to incorrect coordinates. By the time the pattern became clear, multiple missions had already been compromised. Then came the second phase: jamming. Once confusion had been established, broader signal denial was introduced. This forced Israeli commanders to make a critical decision: continue operations under degraded conditions or halt missions entirely. The decision was to stand down. This marked a significant moment, not because aircraft were destroyed, but because operational confidence was lost. The inability to guarantee mission success forced a pause in offensive capability. For the first time in decades, Israel's air power faced a constraint not imposed by physical defenses, but by informational disruption. Understanding how Iran developed this capability requires looking back over a longer timeline. One pivotal moment often cited is the capture of an American reconnaissance drone over a decade ago. That incident provided valuable insight into navigation systems and their vulnerabilities. Whether through direct reverse engineering or broader study, it contributed to a deeper understanding of how positioning data could be manipulated. Over time, Iran built a layered approach to electronic warfare. This included spoofing systems capable of mimicking legitimate signals, jamming systems for denial, and supporting technologies for detection and tracking. Importantly, these systems were designed to be mobile and adaptable, making them difficult to target. Mobility is a key factor. Fixed installations can be destroyed. Mobile networks can relocate, adapt, and persist. This makes suppression significantly more challenging. Another critical element is redundancy. Iran's systems are not dependent on GPS in the same way. By incorporating alternative navigation methods, they ensured their own operations remained functional while disrupting their adversaries. This asymmetry is crucial. It is not enough to deny the enemy capability. You must retain your own. The implications extend far beyond the immediate operational environment. For decades, Western military doctrine has relied on precision as a defining advantage. GPS-enabled weapons transformed warfare, allowing fewer assets to achieve greater impact. But that advantage depends on a stable and reliable positioning system. If that system can be contested, the entire framework must be reconsidered. This is not a theoretical concern. Multiple nations have been developing similar capabilities. Electronic warfare has become a central domain of competition. What was once considered a niche capability is now a strategic priority. The events of the past 72 hours represent a visible demonstration of that shift. For Israel, the impact is immediate. Its doctrine relies heavily on rapid, precise air operations. When that capability is degraded, the entire strategic approach is affected. Alternatives exist, different aircraft, different methods, but none fully replicate the advantages of the F-35 operating at full capability. This creates both operational and political pressure. For the United States, the implications are broader. The F-35 is not just an aircraft, it is a global program. Allies around the world depend on it. Questions about its vulnerabilities have far-reaching consequences for defense planning and procurement. Addressing these vulnerabilities will take time. Technological solutions exist. Improved navigation systems, anti-jam technologies, alternative positioning methods. But integration across fleets is not immediate. In the meantime, the strategic environment has changed. The assumption of uncontested precision can no longer be taken for granted. This moment also highlights a broader shift in how power is contested. Advanced platforms are no longer invulnerable simply because they are technologically superior. Their effectiveness depends on a network of supporting systems. Disrupt those systems, and the platform's advantage diminishes. Electronic warfare targets those dependencies. It is cost-effective compared to traditional military investments. It leverages knowledge rather than mass production, and it can produce disproportionate effects. This makes it attractive to a wide range of actors. The lessons are already being studied globally. What has been demonstrated is not just a capability, but a method. Identify critical dependencies. Develop tools to disrupt them. Apply those tools strategically. The result can alter the balance of power without conventional escalation. As this situation continues to evolve, several key questions remain. Can affected forces adapt quickly enough to restore operational confidence? Will technological solutions close the gap? Or has a fundamental shift occurred that will require a complete rethinking of aerial warfare? The answers are not yet clear. But one thing is certain. The events of the past 72 hours have introduced a level of uncertainty into modern air power that cannot be ignored. The skies have not become more dangerous because of new weapons. They have become more complex because of invisible ones. And in that complexity lies the future of warfare. If this analysis challenged your understanding or raised new questions, share your thoughts. The discussion around these developments is only just beginning, and it matters more than ever to examine them critically. Until the next update, stay sharp, stay informed, and question everything.